I'm Sonia Howell, standing in for Dr. John Keating of An Fora Feasa. I'm just going to talk a little bit about kind of the interdisciplinary collaborative work we do between humanities and computer scientists in An Fora Feasa. This case study I'm going to talk about today is based on my own doctoral research, which examines contemporary Irish literature in the context of world literature. In particular, I was focusing on two theorists, Pascal Casanova and Franco Moretti, who are the leading figures behind this recent reemergence in interest in the sociology of literature. They're concerned with studying the circulation and reception of literary works as they circulate in the world literary space. In particular, I was interested in Pascal Casanova's concept of consecrating authority. So how do we come to determine what is a valuable work of literature? Is it something that inheres in the work itself, or is there forces outside of the text that are served to construct how we think of the text? And in particular, she looks at things like academic institutions and literary prizes. But in my work working with contemporary Irish literature, the idea of mediation is significantly different than it was in the 20th century, where Casanova focuses her study. So in the age of social media, we have things like Amazon and Goodreads, where readers evaluate and comment upon literary works. Amazon has reviews of all different types of products, like Hoovers, hairdryers, but when we comment on a book, we comment on it in a different way. We don't comment about the functionality or the value, we comment on in terms of its reception. And all this data then comes down to all these reviews that are on Goodreads, Amazon, form big data, and we don't really tend to think of big data in humanities. But where we do, when it is broached upon, it's considered in terms of the amount of books that have been made available online, which has brought renewed interest in this concept of tackling the great unread, and which brings us to Franco Moretti's controversial concept of distance reading, where we don't read books, but we actually use quantitative modes of analysis to study literary works. So the word here on the screen is the most probably familiar example of this. But obviously, this is a big problem for literary scholars who love close reading, and we love our books. So this is Stanley Fish on it, that we actually have to read the books before saying what the patterns discovered in them mean, and I would say yes, we do. But this is Katie Schrumpler. She says statistical analysis is a blunt mode of analysis, where I don't entirely disagree with that. I think the problem lies with the manner in which the tool is applied, not necessarily with the tool. So in a case study focusing on Let the Great World Spin, we sought to use these computational text analysis tools to determine the reception of this literary work. So the objectives of the case study were to examine the reception of the novel among everyday readers, to investigate the relationship between popular reception and other forms of consecration, particularly the literary prize, and to examine how and where everyday readers place the novel. So were they calling it an Irish novel, an American novel, or what way were they considering the text? So if you look at the typical review on Amazon, there's a lot of data there. So we have the rating, the date of the review, the name of the reviewer, as well as the body. I had to gather all this data manually, stripping each of the individual reviews off the Amazon site. Then when we had all the data gathered, then we had to start doing stuff with it. So using Perl script, we extracted the information that was relevant to the research question I was trying to ask. So here we wanted to get the star rating and the date. Now visualized here, we get the date of the review across on the x-axis, and on the y-axis we have the star rating. You can see up here in the top line, just approximately around November, there's a proliferation of 5-star reviews, and that means nothing. But then when we consider in terms of the other things going on in the life of the book, we see that two things in particular happened around this time. It won the National Book Award, but also the paperback version of the novel was released, suggesting that there is some sort of correlation between the review and either the literary prize or the means in which it was published. Here we use a stair diagram to make the data more readily readable. So again, you can see the stark rise here around the November period, when it drops off then. So then moving on to the second kind of concern of the research question, we wanted to determine how the novel was placed by readers. So we constructed a list of national identifiers, seen here, so including Irish, America, Ireland, and so forth. And we put these into Perl script, and using Perl script, we extracted this data from the 390 reviews in our corpus. So visualized here, you can see that New York was the most commonly occurring place name in the corpus of reviews. Irish was in second place. So what's interesting to note is that neither Ireland or America appear in the body of reviews, in comparison, say, to a corpus of professional reviews, where both these terms appear much more frequently, which would suggest that the readers aren't really concerned with reading the novel in terms of nation, but it's something their relation to place operates in a different way. So here, sorry, I'm flying ahead of person, McCann is the most common occurring character in the text, but of the actual characters that occur in the novel itself, Corrigan is the most common occurring the most frequently referred to character, and he is the Irish character. If we look at the Dryads and Dyads, we see Michael Corrigan is mostly frequently commented on in terms of his Irishness, suggesting that there's something appealing about the Irish character, but not so much about Irishness itself. Okay, sorry, I'm flying through that.